Heisman contenders, March Madness Cinderellas, Olympic-level talent. The energy of college athletics is unmatched. And every week, we highlight the most incredible performances, the biggest upsets, and the breakout stars that will become the next generation of professional legends. If it's trending, if it's dominating the headlines, it is officially noteworthy. Get ready for your all-access pass to the collegiate sports world. Welcome to Noteworthy in the NCAA, brought to you by the Empty the Bench Network. Now, let's join your host, Will Charlton.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Noteworthy in the NCAA here on the ETB Network. I'm your host, Will Charlton. Happy to have you joining us on this Monday afternoon, early evening, wherever it may be that you are watching. March is less than a week away. So before we start talking about a lot more college basketball headlines, let's make sure to get the social media stuff handled right here. Make sure to follow us on all social media platforms, Twitter /X, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it may be, at ETB Network. Capital E, capital T, capital B, capital N. Make sure to follow Forever Power 5, the podcast I'm a part of, on Instagram and Twitter /X, FP5ETB, and then on TikTok at Forever Power 5. Make sure to watch all of our shows on youtube.com/ETB Network. And that's where you can find all of our other shows as well. So let's get into it. The first thing that we got to talk about, and we kind of just missed this because our show was on Tuesday. Our show was on Monday. This happened in a game for UCLA this past Tuesday, where I'm sure all of you guys have seen it. It's a hilarious video going around right now of Mick Cronin crashing out on a reporter. So he said, "Are you raising your voice at me?" So there's obviously it's not the greatest question ever asked by any means, because the question that was asked was about what did you think of Michigan State's student section in the game? And that's not a question you really want to hear as a coach after a loss, obviously. But so Mick Cronin said, "I want to give you kudos for the worst question I've ever been asked." And then the reporter said, "I'll take it." And he was like, "You should take it." And then Mick Cronin interrupts the next guy asking him a question and goes back to him and says, "Do you really think I give a rat's ass about their student section?" And then the reporter starts kind of rebuttaling back, and then Mick Cronin goes, "Are you raising your voice at me?" It's like, "Yes, you are." It's like, "This is on camera. They can all hear it." It's like, I don't know. That was seriously one of the funniest things I think I've seen. And UCLA had just lost back-to-back games in their Michigan swing to Michigan and Michigan State, both blowouts. I think that they lost to Michigan by 30. And then they lost to Michigan State by 23, I believe it was. So yeah, rough little swing there for UCLA between Saturday and Tuesday. But Mick Cronin crashing on this reporter was just hilarious. I mean, it was seriously one of the funniest things I think I've seen from a coach, because all you can do is just laugh at it. I mean, if I'm a UCLA fan, I kind of see that I'm just like, well, what the hell are we doing here? I don't even know how I would feel about if I was a UCLA fan. Yeah, pretty funny stuff. Also in the Michigan State game, this is the first time I've ever seen this, and apparently Tom Izzo, who's been coaching for over 30 years, first time he's seen this too. Mick Cronin ejected his own player from a game. So Michigan State's up big in the late stages, right? There's a flagrant foul called, and Mick Cronin ejects his guy from the game. And this wasn't even like a really bad foul. It was called a flagrant just because there wasn't really a play on the ball, but it wasn't excessive. It was kind of like an accidental I mean, I don't know how accidental it was, but it was a hard foul. It was called a flagrant, like I said, and Mick Cronin, for some odd reason, ejected his guy from the game. Like he wasn't thrown out because it wasn't a flagrant 2, but Mick Cronin ejected that guy from the game. And it was just like, I have never seen a coach eject his own player before. I mean, I guess is a first for everything, but it's like you see that and you wonder, what is he doing? Like seriously, I mean, what is he doing? I don't understand like what really the whole thing behind that is, because it makes no sense. Like it makes no sense at all. So Mick Cronin is definitely on a hot seat right now at UCLA. They were supposed to be a lot better than they have been this season. I mean, going into the game, they beat Illinois on Saturday night. I think most bracketologists had them outside of the field. I think the win over Illinois on Saturday night probably gets them back in the field for now. But I don't know. It's tough to see that and think that UCLA. I mean, UCLA came into the year, I believe they were ranked like 18, somewhere around that range. I can't remember exactly where they were preseason ranked, but they were preseason ranked. And they have definitely been one of the bigger disappointments, I'd say, this season, just because they've lost a lot of games in blowout fashion. They haven't really been. I mean, Donovan Dent, who was one of the highest touted transfers in this class coming in this year, he hasn't really been nearly what UCLA was hoping for. Tyler Bilodeau's been their best player, in my opinion. But they go down 23 early to Illinois, and they come back and win. So I guess you could say UCLA is 1-0 after Mick Cronin crashes on a reporter. So there's a new stat for you, I suppose. Also, before we keep going, shout out to the U.S. hockey team for winning gold in Milan yesterday to cap the Winter Olympics. That was a incredible moment for U.S. hockey. We'd love to see it. Yeah, let's get into this past week. I know I already mentioned UCLA beating Illinois. That was an overtime game on Saturday. That was a huge win for UCLA. They needed that one badly after a really rough swing in Michigan. It was a game where Illinois got up 33-10 early on, I believe 10 minutes in, and then UCLA just couldn't miss a shot the rest of the game. I mean, I believe there was a stretch where UCLA went 16 of the next 18 from the field. I think after that happened, it was like Illinois went into halftime up like 57-50 or something like that. So UCLA scored 40 points in like 10 minutes in the final 10 minutes of the first half. Like just insane. So it's just one of those games where it's like you just kind of got to tip your hat to the other team. I think just pretty disappointing that loss for Illinois after we beat UCLA or USC by 35 I think on Wednesday night. I'll check that in a second here, but back to a week from a week ago today. The game of the day was Iowa State, Houston. And we have seen games like this on Mondays the past 3 weeks. So one of the teams gets up by double figures, and then the other team comes back and wins. Iowa State was down by 10 points at home to Houston last Monday night with about 8 minutes to go, I believe it was. And Houston doesn't score a field goal in the final, I want to say the final 3.5 minutes of the game. Iowa State went on a 12-0 run or something like that to end up taking the lead, and then they hang on 70-67. That was a phenomenal game. And get this too, both teams only scored 27 points in the first half. It was a very high-scoring game in the first half. 27 each in the second half. Iowa State led at halftime 43-40. And in a game where, I mean, these two teams have been known for more of like their defensive performances rather than their offensive performances. So that was a little bit of a high score in first half, but then when you get into the second half, I believe Iowa State made one field goal in the first 6 minutes of the second half. And that allowed Houston to kind of keep adding on to the lead a little bit. They get up double figures, and then they sort of just collapse down the stretch. Kingston Fleming did all he could for Houston in the game. He had 22. He is a phenomenal freshman to watch. But yeah, I mean, that was a huge win for Iowa State. We're not done talking about Houston yet either, because they had a very significant result on Saturday that we'll get into here pretty shortly. But yeah, I mean, that was a huge win for Iowa State. That was just a phenomenal way to start the new week of basketball. And now we're into the last week of February before the best month of the year gets here. Tuesday, all sorts of great games. And the biggest storyline going into Tuesday night was the game between Michigan and Purdue. So there was a video surfacing on social media of Yaxel Lendeborg from Michigan saying oh, we're gonna beat Purdue's ass when we play them. I mean, we're gonna put belt to ass on Purdue when they play them. Michigan gets up 20 points in the first half of this game. Purdue made it manageable eventually, but Michigan led 48-32 at halftime and ends up winning the game by 11 in Mackey Arena. This is a really weird year for Purdue. They have lost 3 games at Mackey Arena this year. That is kind of unheard of. I mean, when you think of Purdue, you think of Mackey Arena being one of, if not the toughest places to play in the country for college basketball. Illinois has beat them there. Iowa State crushed them there. Michigan, you could really say they crushed them there because Michigan got up 20 points in the first half and just completely set the tone in that game. So Elliot Cadeau really stepped up in the second half. He scored 14 of 17 to help Michigan win that game. And yeah, Purdue they had a huge win on Friday night as well against Indiana, but Purdue is I thought Purdue was going to win that game personally, just because I couldn't see them losing again at Mackey, and because of that storyline of Yaxel Lendeborg saying what he said on that video. But man, I mean, Michigan just took it to Purdue, and that was the thing I was saying last week too. It's like Purdue they struggle on the defensive end sometimes. Like they have a pretty bad pick and roll problem where they can't really defend it very well, and they have to have help side defenders move up rather than move down, and they can't really stay with their assignments that well. And I think that really is what hurt Purdue in the first half, allowing Michigan to really expand the floor like they were able to, and not be able to, because we've seen teams like Illinois. I mean, Purdue had to expand the floor well against Illinois. Granted, Keaton Walker scored 46 in that game against Purdue, but that's neither here nor there in this case. So yeah, Michigan gets a huge win against Purdue on Tuesday night. And then Iowa beats Nebraska in what was a really, really interesting game on Tuesday night, 57-52. So Nebraska's been known for their really strong defensive play this year. They only scored 52 points. And if I'm not mistaken, I mean, that might be one of their lowest totals this season. I know they only scored 55 or something like that in a win over Michigan State earlier in the year at home. But scoring 52 on the road against Iowa is just kind of mind-boggling. Iowa's decent. They're not great by any means. They're decent. But that was a huge resume win for Iowa, and honestly a win that could get them in the field of 68. I don't know. I'm pretty sure Iowa's along the 7 seed line right now, 8 seed line, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember off the top of my head for sure, but yeah, big win for the Hawkeyes. Bennett Sturts, he scored almost half of Iowa's points. He had 25 in that win. So also there was a really interesting moment in this game too, because the Iowa fans stormed the court after that win. And there was a video of probably an Iowa student, I'd assume, when the Iowa student ran onto the court, he was filming Fred Hoiberg, and Fred Hoiberg like shoved the phone away or something like that and made it seem like kind of pushed him. So I don't really know like what that whole deal was. I mean, obviously the last thing you kind of want to see is just an Iowa kid after you lost the game, just putting a phone right in your face. So in that sense, I get it, but that's just not a great look. Like you gotta be able to just kind of like be like, whatever. If you're Fred Hoiberg in that situation, not the greatest look for him, but I understand the frustration of like, you got a phone right in your face as an opposing fan is storming the court. So I get that aspect. It's got to be a little weird to have that happen, but yeah, big win for Iowa there. Pretty interesting. If you haven't seen that video, it's that surfaced pretty heavily as well. Florida just continues to roll. They beat South Carolina 76-62. This is the game I really want to talk about. So Texas Tech, obviously they go into Tucson and beat Arizona on, I believe it was Saturday. It was Saturday. They go into Tucson and beat Arizona, give Arizona 2 losses last week. And then they follow that up with a road loss at Arizona State, who was 4-8 in the Big 12 coming in, 13-12 coming into that game overall. But the reason they lost is because JT Toppin tore his ACL in the game. Just a devastating blow to a Texas Tech team who had been playing phenomenal basketball. I mean, they literally, like I said, just beat Arizona on the road. They were still number 1 in that game because, no, they were number 4. But, yeah, they had just beat Arizona on the road. And or no, I'm sorry. No, yeah, they still would have been number 1 in that game. Yeah, because they still would have been number 1 in that game. Arizona still would have been number 1 in that game where Texas Tech beat them at home. And Arizona State, nowhere near the rankings. I mean, they're not good. They're not a good team. So Arizona State wins that game 72-67. And unfortunately for Texas Tech, when you lose a player of that caliber, I mean, JT Toppin had been playing some of the best basketball of anybody in the country. Certainly a front runner for the Naismith Award or the Wooden Award. And no, it's Naismith Award, isn't it? Regardless, Player of the Year. And to have that happen for Texas Tech is just devastating because Texas Tech had been trending in a real strong direction in the past couple of weeks. And then to have that happen, they lose the game to Arizona State. As far as I'm concerned, Texas Tech's season looks pretty bleak now. They'll be a tournament team. I wonder kind of where their seeding is going to fall to. It's going to be pretty interesting to see, what kind of comes about with this. And yeah, it's such a devastating blow for Texas Tech though. And then let's see, any other games to really harp on Tuesday night? Not really. Another shout out to Miami of Ohio though, Miami University. They won another 2 games this week. Now 27-0. They're up to 21 in the polls this week. Miami is just, they continue to be one of the best stories in college basketball because that game at UMass they played on Tuesday night, that gym was packed. It was packed to the brim, and they find a way to get a win on the road against a team who challenged them pretty well too when they played in Oxford, Ohio. So Miami just continues to find ways to win. So that's awesome for the Red Hawks. Wednesday night is when Illinois beat USC by 36, 101-65. That was the first game Illinois had been healthy in about a month and a half. And they were just clicking on all cylinders in that game. Then of course they followed up on Saturday which is the head scratching loss to UCLA after being up 23 early in the game. And then Arizona gets the season sweep over BYU. Another really good game between those two. AJ DeBonsa puts up 35-7 in the game, but it's not enough to get BYU the win. That was more than half of their points in that game, 35 of the 68. Ivan Karchenkov had one of his best nights, if not his best night ever for Arizona. And they get the 75-68 win over BYU, season sweep. How about this result on Wednesday night? Creighton, 13-13 coming in. 7-8 in the Big East coming in. They play on the road in Storrs, Connecticut, and win 91-84. Unranked Creighton went into UConn and won 91-84. That is a quad 3 loss for UConn at home. Quad 3. Creighton has had one of the worst years for them I've seen in a long time, because Creighton's usually one of those teams that they're near the top of the Big East standings. They always have guys who can make good plays for them. They've been a real solid seed the tournament the past few years. I think they were in 8 or 9 last year, but the year before that, I think they were 3. And so seeing this Creighton team, as down of a year as they've had, to go into Storrs, Connecticut and get a win, score 46 points in the second half after a game was tied 45 all after the first half. Incredible. I was watching that game in the second half, and I was just like, wow, man. I mean, this is remarkable that Creighton's about to get this win. And just shocking upset. Creighton beating UConn like that. And, oh my goodness. If you guys didn't watch the Alabama-Arkansas game on Wednesday night, you missed out. I mean, this game was just unbelievable. It goes to double overtime. The final score was 117-115. Alabama beat Arkansas. That game was cinema. I mean, that was seriously one of the most incredible games I've watched. Darius Acuff, the star freshman for Arkansas, 49 points. Yes, 49. It's not enough to get the win, though. It was not enough to get the win. So even though just a remarkable performance from Darius Acuff, no one's going to talk about it because they didn't win. That game was unbelievable on Wednesday night. And then Missouri beat Vanderbilt 81-80. But Vanderbilt had a chance to score 6 points in the final 4 seconds. So Missouri's up 81-77 with like 4 seconds left. Vanderbilt hits a 3 in transition to cut it to 1. Missouri throws, just hucks up an inbounds pass. It's caught by Vanderbilt's Tanner at Tyler Tanner at midcourt. Tanner has a look at half court to win it, and it rims in and out. Vanderbilt almost scored 6 points in 4 seconds, down 4 to win the game. I mean, Tyler Tanner literally went in and out on a half court shot after Missouri threw the ball away. That finish was nuts too. Then Friday night, Purdue wins at home against Indiana by 29. When was the game this week where St. Louis got upset? St. Louis also lost their first game in conference play this week too. I'm trying to remember when that night was. That was Tuesday night. Yeah. So St. Louis lost their first conference game of the season. They lost to Rhode Island 81-76. Now look, St. Louis is still a real solid squad, but shocking loss. And then they bounced back on Friday, though, against VCU. Saturday, a lot of good games, like I've talked about. UCLA comes back against Illinois. Duke beats Michigan in that top 3 showdown in Washington, D.C., 68-63. Cam Boozer has a double-double, 18 points, 10 rebounds, and then 7 assists. Arizona beats Houston on the road. Houston goes 0-2 this past week. Phenomenal bounce back week for Arizona, getting big wins over BYU at home and then going to Houston and getting the win over the Cougars. So Houston goes 0-2 this week. Very tough loss for Cougars to have to deal with. Anthony Del Orso, huge game for Arizona in that one, 22 points. BYU beats Iowa State in the late night Big 12 game, led behind 29-10-9 for DeBonsa, 79-69 over Iowa State. So 1-1 week for the Cyclones. Cincinnati, 14-12 coming in, 6-7 in conference play coming in, goes into Allen Fieldhouse and beats Kansas with Darren Peterson in the lineup, 84-68. Cincinnati outscored Kansas by 14 the second half in this game. They win by 16. Cincinnati, unranked Cincinnati, 14 wins Cincinnati. Kansas have been playing great basketball. Cincinnati goes into Allen Fieldhouse, where not many people can say they win games. Hardly anyone can say they win games in Allen Fieldhouse. Cincinnati goes in and gets a win by 16 points. Shocking game to watch on Saturday. And I'll tell you what, man, Florida, I mean, just takes it to Ole Miss. 19-point win on the road for the Gators. The defending national champions playing out of their minds right now. Really, really impressive basketball. If I'm not mistaken, Florida has won, 12 in a row now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so they've won 7 in a row, but they have won 12 of the last 13. That's what it is. They've won 12 of the last 13 games. So Florida, the defending national champs are on a roll right now, leading the SEC. They are now 12-2 in conference play. The defending national champions are on a roll right now. Tennessee beat Vanderbilt on the road 69-65 as well. So Tennessee gets back to Vanderbilt. And yeah. So now I want to get into the selection committee's top 6 that was released on top 16 seeds that were released on Saturday. I gotta find it here real fast. I will find it here and then get it up. But yeah, there was the top 16 seeds were released. So this is what the top 16 would look like in the tournament bracket. Here we go. Share my screen here so you guys can see this. So I'm trying to share the screen here. Let's try this again. 1 second, guys. 1 second. So I can show this to you guys as well. Okay. So now you can see this. There we go. Okay. So yeah, so now you guys can see this. So as of February 21st, these would be the top 16 seeds in the tournament. Midwest, Michigan was the number 1 overall seed coming in. They have Virginia, Houston, Florida in the Midwest. Duke gets the number 2 overall in the East. They got Vanderbilt, Illinois, and Kansas in that pod. In the West, Arizona is the number 1 seed with Michigan State, Purdue, and Gonzaga. And then the South, Iowa State is with Texas Tech, UConn, and Nebraska. I expect Florida to probably move up seed lines if they keep winning. I mean, if they keep winning, win the SEC, they'll be a 2 seed. Houston's got to figure some stuff out. Virginia, I don't know how safe they are on the 4 line. We'll see. Vanderbilt's going to slide down. They're not going to be a top 16 seed after the week they just had anymore. Illinois is probably safe on the 2 line for now, even with the loss, especially they can win against Michigan on Friday night. And then Gonzaga, just because of the weak conference they play in, I don't know if they will be any better than the 3 in the tournament. Purdue's probably going to stay on the 2 line. I don't see a path for UConn to get a one seed anymore just because of that bad loss to Creighton at home. Texas Tech, I don't think they're going to be a top 16 seed anymore when it's all said and done. And I think Nebraska's going to be on the 3 line too. So that all looks pretty good. It all looks pretty good. I think there could be some change up though as we head into it. And now we can go check out the newest AP poll that came out today. Duke takes over number 1. Arizona back up to 2. Michigan slides down to 3. So Michigan replaces Duke and vice versa. Iowa State jumps to 4, even with the loss to BYU early in the week. But the win over Houston definitely helps out because they're ranked over Houston now at 5. UConn only slides down to 6, but that makes sense because there was a lot of a lot of change up in the rankings. Florida's at 7, which makes sense. I mean, like I said, they've won 12 of 13. They've only lost 2 conference games. They're rolling right now. Purdue jumps to 8. It's not like the Michigan loss really hurt them at all. Gonzaga's back in the top 10 at 9. I just disagree. I don't think that's a top 10 basketball team. Illinois still number 10 after a 1-1 week. Virginia up to 11. Nebraska 12. And you see the rest there. St. Louis still stays ranked even after they drop a game in conference play for the first time. Miami is up 21 now for being kind of stuck at 22 lately. And Alabama gets back in the top 20 as well. They were 25 last week, now 17 after a 2-0 week, including the win over Arkansas. And BYU back in the top 20 as well after the win over Iowa State. So before we wrap up the show here, let's get into some games to watch. I should have put this banner up too. I forgot to do that. But yeah, games to watch this week and my picks. Games to watch and my picks this week. Starting tonight with 2 really big ones, actually. Usually these ACC games on Monday have not really been all that fun. But tonight, number 24 Louisville heads into Chapel Hill to play number 18 North Carolina. Give me the Cardinals to win this game tonight without Caleb Wilson. I like Louisville to match up well against North Carolina. I don't think North Carolina is really all that good without Caleb Wilson. So Louisville's favored by 3.5 on the road. That says a lot. Give me the Cardinals to win this game tonight on the road. Healthy Louisville against the North Carolina team that does not have their best players. So give me the Cardinals tonight. Houston at Kansas at Fog Island Fieldhouse. So this is a crazy game because Houston's lost 2 in a row. Kansas just got their ass handed to them on Saturday to Cincinnati at home. I can't see Kansas losing back-to-back games at home. And also, Bill Self has still never lost on Big Monday at home. So give me the Jayhawks to hand Houston their 3rd straight loss tonight. I can't believe I'm saying that. Houston losing 3 straight is mind-boggling to me, but give me the Jayhawks to win tonight. I can't see Kansas losing back-to-back games at home. I just can't. Any important games to watch out for tomorrow night? Not really. No ranked matchups. St. John's at UConn Wednesday night, the reverse matchup. I'm going to take the Huskies to win that one at home. I think I could see a 1-1 split between those two, and then they'll meet again in the Big East championship game. I'd assume. So yeah, give me the Huskies to win that one at home on Wednesday night, and then that's the only ranked matchup on Wednesday night. Thursday night, Michigan State at Purdue. Purdue will have no problem with the Spartans. Michigan State does not play well on the road. Give me the Boilermakers to win that game at home, and honestly, they'll probably be favored by 8 or 9 points, and I'd be pretty comfortable taking that spread for Purdue. So give me the Boilermakers to roll on Thursday night against Michigan State. Friday night, Michigan at Illinois, a top 10 matchup, arguably could be the Big Ten game of the year. Michigan and Illinois. Illinois has won 9 straight games in the series between these two teams. 9 straight games. I think Illinois makes it 10. Illinois got a real slap in the face against UCLA. Michigan will not be coming off a loss. They play Minnesota on Tuesday night, so they'll roll over them. I think Illinois wins this game at home. I do. I think Illinois wins this game at home. Illinois keeps pace to try to get the 2 seed in the Big Ten. Michigan's going to win the Big Ten regular season title. That's all but determined already after Illinois lost to UCLA on Saturday night. So give me the Illini to beat Michigan on Friday night. And on Saturday, Virginia at Duke. I think the Blue Devils have no problem with that one at home, even though it's 11 Virginia at number 1 Duke. I think the Blue Devils have no issue with that one at all. Virginia they're good. They find ways to win games, but it's not incredibly convincing. So yeah, give me the Blue Devils to win that game on Saturday, and then Kansas at Arizona. Arizona's going to want revenge. I think Arizona's going to be able to win that game at home on Saturday. In the repeat game, or the second game between those two in 3 weeks. Yeah, second game between those 2 and 3 weeks. Texas Tech at Iowa State. I cannot see a Texas Tech team without JT Toppin going into Hilton Coliseum and win that game. So give me the Cyclones on Saturday. Alabama at Tennessee, a ranked matchup. Tennessee back in the polls this week. I'll take the Volunteers to win that one at home. Arkansas at Florida. Florida's rolling right now. I think the Gators will win that game at home. I don't see Florida losing a game at home. The Gators are just rolling right now. Condon and Chinyulu could be the best front court in the country. So yeah, give me the Gators to win that game at home. And then Gonzaga goes to St. Mary's to wrap up the regular season in the West Coast Conference. Because that always feels like that's the game where St. Mary's does get Gonzaga. 25-4 St. Mary's, 27-2 Gonzaga. Both teams will more than likely have one more win heading into that one as well. Or no, that's probably the only game that those two play this week, I'd assume. No, they probably each play one more game. 31 regular season games. Yeah, that makes sense. So give me Gonzaga. Give me Gonzaga in a close one, I think. Yeah, give me Gonzaga in a close one. I think the Zags will be able to win that game against their rivals, St. Mary's on the road. So that's Saturday, and then nothing really too important on Sunday. So that will do it for our show today. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Noteworthy in the NCAA. Appreciate you guys tuning in once again on this Monday, and make sure to come on back next week for another episode where we'll have our first edition of Noteworthy in the NCAA in the best month of the year. But until then, I'm Will Charlton. We'll see you next time.